The 1960s were a time of counterculture revolution and young people being upset at what the government was doing. With this in mind, comics writer Stan Lee decided to create a superhero that would be the antithesis of this. Taking inspiration from industrialist Howard Hughes, Lee created Anthony Tony Stark, who was a multi-billionaire, weapons manufacturer, and womanizer. The idea was to create a character that would be everything the readers hated and yet still be likable. With scripter Larry Lieber and artists Don Heck and Jack Kirby, Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, was born. He first appeared in Tales of Suspense number 39 in May 1963 and quickly became one of Marvel's most popular characters. So, when Kevin Feige decided to create a shared cinematic universe, the first character to be adapted was Iron Man. Cut to 2008, when Jon Favreau directed the first Marvel Cinematic Universe entry, Iron Man. While in Afghanistan for a weapons demonstration, weapons manufacturer Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., is attacked and captured by terrorists. He's held captive with local Dr. Yinsen Shaun Taub and ordered to build weapons for the terrorists. Seeing that the terrorists are using weapons his company made, Tony instead decides to build a suit of armor to escape. With help from Yinsen, he's able to complete the suit and escape, but at the cost of Yinsen's life. Once he returns home, Tony decides to stop manufacturing weapons and instead focus on refining his armored suit. With his new suit, Tony decides to go and destroy all of the weapons caches the terrorists have. Unfortunately, this doesn't settle well for his business partner Obadiah Stane, Jeff Bridges, who's been supplying weapons to the terrorists. Stane manages to build his own suit, and Tony has to stop him before it's too late. While on the surface it seems like a giant explosion fest, there's a much deeper story going on here. When we first meet Tony, he's self-centered, egotistical, irresponsible, and doesn't seem to care about anyone other than himself. After his experience in Afghanistan, he returns a changed man who wants to undo his past mistakes. It's a classic story of redemption that anyone can relate to, helped by Robert Downey Jr.'s fantastic performance. Not only is he very charismatic and funny, he also sells the more emotional scenes and really shows his skills. It also helps that he's supported by a great cast, including Jeff Bridges, Terrence Howard, and Gwyneth Paltrow. For someone who's known for playing heroes and chill guys, Bridges is surprisingly intense and frightening as the villain.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps!
Paltrow is also quite good here, and she has great chemistry with Downey Jr. Of course, a superhero movie wouldn't be much without some thrilling action, and this one has it in spades. From Tony fighting off terrorists with his initial suit to the final battle with Ironmonger, it's fun to watch. What helps is that we get to know the characters so well that we actually care about the action. Admittedly, the final battle does go into CGI overkill, but even still, because the characters are so well developed, it's okay. At the end of the day, this movie shows that even the most self-centered people can change for the better. As the start to a major cinematic universe, this is the best way to get things started. Honestly, other than some dated 2008 references, this movie still holds up well today. Overall, Iron Man works thanks to a strong lead performance, exciting action, and a well-developed story.
I don't want to see this on your MySpace page.
With the success of Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk in 2008, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was born. While there weren't any new entries the following year, a follow-up to Iron Man was released in 2010. Many of the same people from the original returned for the sequel, including director Jon Favreau and much of the original cast. However, in between movies, Terrence Howard, who played James Rhodes, was replaced with Don Cheadle. It's unclear what led to the recasting, but sources say it was due to a pay dispute. However, there are also sources claiming that Howard and Favreau did not get along on set. Regardless, given how successful the first film was, it was only inevitable that a sequel was in the works. So, 2 years after the original, Jon Favreau and company treated audiences to Iron Man 2. 6 months after the events of the original, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., is on top of the world. He's considered an international hero thanks to his Iron Man suit, and he's ushered in a new era of peace. However, not everyone feels that way about him, particularly Ivan Vanko, Mickey Rourke, who has a personal grudge with Stark. At the same time, the US government is demanding that Tony turn over the Iron Man technology to them. On top of that, the palladium core keeping Tony's chest arc reactor functioning is slowly killing him. Soon, Ivan attacks Tony using similar technology, which makes everyone in doubt if Iron Man can save them or not. This catches the attention of rival weapons manufacturer Justin Hammer, Sam Rockwell, who partners with Ivan to bring down Stark. All the while, agents from S.H.I.E.L.D. are keeping a watchful eye on Iron Man.
I'm gonna have to ask you to exit the donut.
Given how amazing the first film was, naturally the sequel had some pretty big shoes to fill. For the most part, this movie does succeed in continuing what made the first film work. The returning cast, especially Downey Jr., still delivers solid performances, and the new cast works just as well here. While Terrence Howard is missed, Don Cheadle is a good replacement, and he works well with Downey Jr. Mickey Rourke makes for a very intimidating villain, and Sam Rockwell has some pretty funny moments. Scarlett Johansson is good as Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, but it feels like she hasn't quite nailed the character yet. She comes across a bit too stoic at times and just seems to be trying too hard to be serious. Going back to Downey Jr., he once again shows how he really was perfect casting for Tony Stark. However, as good as this movie is, it doesn't quite reach the same heights as the first one. After the first 30 to 40 minutes of the movie, there's a huge stretch where not much happens. It isn't until about an hour and 20 minutes in that another action sequence happens. Much of the in-between time is spent with Tony trying to find a suitable replacement for his palladium core. It does help to advance the overall story, but the scenes tend to drag out and grind to a halt. Also, once Sam Rockwell enters the fray, Mickey Rourke takes a back seat as a villain. Not that Sam Rockwell is bad, but they introduced Mickey Rourke as this powerful adversary, and he doesn't do much. Despite these problems, Iron Man 2 is still an enjoyable time thanks to strong performances and fun action.
Ready? Get down! Are you Iron Man? Sometimes. We believe in you!
With the overwhelming success of the Avengers, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was firmly established as a cinematic powerhouse. Given the success, Marvel decided to launch Phase 2, starting with another Iron Man sequel, but done quite differently. For one, while he returned to play Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau opted not to return to direct the sequel. Instead, directing duties were handed to famous screenwriter Shane Black, who previously worked with Robert Downey Jr. on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. In fact, it was Downey who recommended Black to Marvel given their previous experience. Also around this time, Disney had just acquired Marvel, but they had to pay original distributor Paramount for the rights. Given that Disney earlier acquired Lucasfilm and its properties, including Star Wars, he always expected there to be rights issues. So just 1 year after the Avengers, we got Iron Man 3. Following the attack on New York, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., is experiencing PTSD from what he went through. This has led to him spending less time with Pepper Potts, Gwyneth Paltrow, and more time building suits. Pepper is visited by Aldrich Killian, Guy Pearce, who has a new project called Extremist that has potential. At the same time, a terrorist known as the Mandarin, Ben Kingsley, has been responsible for numerous bombings. One such bombing nearly claims the life of Tony's friend Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau, leading Tony to challenge the Mandarin. Unfortunately, this leads to Tony's house being blown up and him flying off to another part of the country. While searching for answers on the bombings, Tony starts to learn more and more about who the Mandarin really is, who is the Mandarin, and what is he ultimately after. After how somewhat underwhelming Iron Man 2 was, this is an improvement, though still not quite as good as the first. Like before, the performances are all around great, especially from Downey, who really gets to show off his acting chops. Given the trauma the character has faced, Downey really conveys just how broken Tony is and how affected he's become. Also, Guy Pearce, while somewhat laughable in appearance at first, makes for a pretty decent villain. Plus, Ben Kingsley, though somewhat wasted, still turns in a solid performance, being both unnerving and even funny. Also, because of my love of character actors, it's great to see William Sadler and Miguel Ferrer pop up here. Like before, this movie has some great action sequences, though it's interesting how many of them don't involve the suit. Some may be disappointed by this, but I actually think it's a welcome change of pace. Given this film was co-written by Shane Black, it should come as no surprise that the dialogue is very humorous. One major highlight is the back and forths between Downey Jr. and Ty Simpkins as a very bright kid.
So, who's home?
Well, my mom already left for the diner, and Dad went to 7-Eleven to get scratchers. I guess he won, because that was 6 years ago.
Which happens, dads leave. No need to be a pussy about it. Here's what I...
Without giving away too much, I know one major complaint audiences had was a certain misdirection given. Let's just say that certain characters aren't what they seem, and while I get the frustration, I didn't mind it. That being said, this movie does have some of the same issues as before, namely the pacing. There are several points where large stretches go by without much happening, definitely more a slow burn. Admittedly, it's handled fairly well since there's more character development and the performances keep it engaging. Overall, Iron Man 3 is a step above the previous entry, though only slightly above being middle of the road.
Walk away from that, you son of a bitch.
Honestly, I hate working here. They are so weird.